It's kind of hard for me to actually imagine that it was 2 weeks ago that I was in the afternoon sitting at the airport getting ready to travel and lead a pilgrimage to Italy of a group of our parishioners. Lots happened, and it was so blessed and beautiful and full, and had a sense that it was not just for those who were there, but for the whole parish, But there I was getting my shoes shined, because I figured if I meet the Pope, I better look presentable, And if you're anything like me, I'm trying to do a lot of different things to pull away. And so I think I had 2 different calls that were coming in and trying to direct things while my shoes were getting shined, But at the end of it, this young man whose name was Ed, I was paying him, and another man was walking up and to get his shoes shined, and he said, "Can I ask you a question?" And he even told the man, he said, "It'll be about 5 minutes," which was actually helpful because normally I don't know how much time I have. And he said, "I've been praying every day now for a month, and it doesn't feel like anything's happening. What should I do?" And I have to say, I felt a lot of things just in that question. I felt honored by his trust in that moment in this busy airport, And I also wanted to respond to him from a place of faith, vulnerability, and encouragement. Like not from a place that I've arrived, because I still have seasons where it's difficult to be faithful to prayer. But I felt a little bit like, if you remember when Red gets out of prison in Shawshank Redemption, and he gets that note from Andy Dufresne, who's already got freedom. And he says, "Red, my friend, if you've already come this far, maybe you'd be willing to come a little further." And I don't even fully remember what I told him, but I left him with, persevere. Just keep praying. Just keep praying. I felt like this young man was in my heart through all that was unfolding in this pilgrimage. Like his sincere desire to encounter the Lord, to have a sense of His presence, to hear His voice. And what a delicate place that is to say, maybe it won't happen for me. Maybe I give up. Maybe I settle. This parable is really important that Jesus tells. There's a little comedic aspect to it. A corrupt judge that the Lord's sort of holding up with some humor. But He's actually making a very serious point. And notice that the context is to His disciples. Those who have already been following Him as sincere as they can. This one's not to those who are resistant. It's to the church going. And notice it says He told this parable of the necessity for them to pray always and not grow weary. The more literal translation is not lose heart. Imagine that. So important is prayer that it's connected with Jesus to losing our heart, to losing the substance of life. Maybe just existing, maybe just surviving, maybe just going into a certain kind of mode. To pray always and to not lose heart. I just had a conversation with a man recently over the phone, and he was sharing vulnerably with me how he was seeing this situation, relationship, circumstance, and I thought it was super spot on. I thought it was very insightful, intelligent, but we were still left with this place where, well, what are you going to do? What are you supposed to do? How do you know what to do? And I just said, it sounds like you need more prayer. I'm not going to say you're seeing anything wrong here, but what's the call? What's the call from God for you in this relationship or this circumstance? And unless we run that through prayer, I feel like we just end up reacting from the strongest emotion, reacting from the fear, reacting from what irritates us. Like without prayer, we don't really have a compass in life. So that's my first point. I'm going to make two more. The supreme value of prayer. What did Jesus say to Martha? Your sister, listening to my voice, sitting with me, has chosen the better portion. He says, the one thing necessary, and it will not be taken from her. The second thing we can say is that prayer is not always going to be easy. Sometimes it will. I've had seasons where I can't wait to get up in the morning, sometimes before 5 a.m., because there's a sweetness to prayer. Everything's connecting, it's synchronizing, I'm seeing clearly. I just have this lively sense of the Lord's presence, His closeness. I just can't wait to hear the sound of His voice. Like, what's He going to say today? And there are other times where it's dry, it's desolate. There's a battle just to stay faithful, to say, no, this is the time I set aside for prayer, and I'm going to stay here. And there's a battle. This is why the church connects this first reading to the gospel, huh? Moses, interceding for his people, actually needs help for others to hold his arms aloft. One way to think of it is, no one can pray for you, but at the same time, no one prays in isolation. We all need the encouragement, the inspiration of other people. I've told you sometimes when my head's a little spinning there, I don't know, maybe I'm lost in administration, forgetting my role as a shepherd in a spiritual sense, where I just go over to the chapel and there's like 12 other people. And even before I pour out my heart and try to listen to the Lord, I'm lifted up. I'm encouraged. I'm surrounded by other people who are praying, who are persevering in their prayer. Prayer is a battle. And if it has supreme value, the one thing necessary, then my encouragement is everyone has to have a routine of daily prayer. We have to. It's oxygen. Otherwise, we're just victims to, the world's values, circumstances. Like, it's where we drop our anchor. It's where we pivot in life. It's where we have strength to move and to live and to be fully alive. And then maybe the third thing we could say, maybe start with a question. This is the question St. Augustine asks. Why would God ask us to pray always when He already knows what we need? It's a fair question, isn't it? Sometimes you can get caught in your head there. St. Augustine says God wants to give us so much more than we're open to receiving. And he says prayer is an exercise in holy desire. Like, how bad do you want it? Do you want it just a little? Or do you want it enough to say, I'm just going to ache and long from this desire. I'm going to hold this desire to you. Or do I do that for 2 minutes and then turn on the football game? There is an ache to the desire for God. It's a holy thing. God's not playing a game with us, but by that desire, our heart is open, expanded to receive. Sometimes I think it's far too easy for Catholic Christians to just settle. We might even look at other people and say, boy, they have an intimate prayer life. How come they speak about the Lord with such intimacy and familiarity? Well, that must be for them and not for me. And I just want to say, whenever you say that, that is not of the Lord. The Lord wants a strong relationship with each one of us, each one of you. And yes, there'll be a battle. There'll be times of dryness. Do not be afraid. Do not give up. That's all just going to stretch our desire to make us more open, greater capacity to receive what He has for us. I want to end this very practically, if I can land this. I just feel like every one of us should have 15 minutes a day that's untouchable. That's untouchable. And for some of you, that means you got to put it on your snazzy calendar. Just got to be there. And how might you spend that time? 15 minutes of quiet. Your device is turned off, it's nowhere near you. Whether it's in the church, in the comfort of your home, whether it's looking outside. Well, two ways would be to begin with gratitude. Thank the Lord, not generally, very specifically. That's what I was doing our whole pilgrimage. I could say, thanks for the pasta, Lord. Thanks for being in Italy. That's too general. Thanks for what we experienced today. But then ask Him for more. And don't ask Him to move the chess pieces around in your life, but ask Him for what you want relationally. Lord, I need to know your care. I need to know your assurance. I actually need to know the tenderness of your love. I need to know hope. Secondly, this is a second reading, it's all about the scriptures. Like if you spent that 15 minutes and you just took a bookmark, start with the Gospel of Luke or pick your favorite, and you just quieted your heart, put yourself into God's presence, and just read and meditate on a few verses. Doesn't have to be a lot. And you say, what's God saying to me through this? I can assure you it will change your life. It changed mine. It made my life more adventurous. It made it not my life, my measure. Every time I pray, it keeps taking me out of myself and leading me forward. Jesus told this parable to them that they would pray always, always. The good times and the bad, the difficult, the irritating, and that they would not grow weary, that they would not lose heart. I'll close with this. We did get to meet the Pope. It's wonderful. Someone even shouted out St. Ambrose in Minnesota, and he gave a thumbs up and a knowing smile. So can you believe that? He knows we're here. Isn't that fun? But what did the Pope speak to us about? He spoke to us about hope. And the hope that only deepens and sustains us when we keep talking to the Lord. Okay, this is the last thing. You know, on the flight back from Newark, you're tired, you're coming home, and it's like, oh man, this is a long day. Another 3 hours. And I'm in this flight, and from takeoff to the landing, there was a child about 5 rows ahead of me, I don't know, 3, 4 years old, who did not stop talking loudly the whole flight. And I'm looking over at Father Ben to my left, sleeping like a baby. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? And we land, and the child just gets quiet. And I thought, maybe that was the child just like calming its own heart in the air. No? Can somebody hear me? I'm just going to keep talking. And for me, it's actually a great image of prayer. Or maybe, Lord, I'm going to keep talking, but I'm also going to keep listening. Amen.